Hello friends and welcome. Patch 7.34D just came out last night. I played a couple games this morning. I took a look at whatever data came through. I know we're pretty early, so don't expect any of this to be the absolute truth of the patch, but I'm going to go through my first impressions and analysis of it so you get an idea of how the meta might shift in the next few days into TI. I want to start with some bug fixes that aren't in the patch notes. You can find these through their news site. I'll link it in the description if you want to read through this yourself, because there's actually quite a few hero-specific ones that don't matter that much to me, because I want to highlight instead something up here. First of all, if you use Quick Attack, you were not able to draw creep aggro through the top bar of the HUD. If you didn't know, you could draw creep aggro when you issue an attack command on an enemy hero portrait at that top, but you couldn't use this Quick Attack feature. Now you can. I saw a post on Reddit that it's still not working actually, but that means they're aware of it. Hopefully they're working on it. At some point it'll be fixed, and that's a nice quality of life change if you need that. Clicking the Lotus Pool should also no longer interrupt itself. Sometimes you would contest the enemies. You'd get there both at 3 minutes. It'd be like spam clicking, just like bounty runes, like you want to get it first, but it would actually mess up the channeling, and then someone else would get it instead. So that should be fixed now. Now spam click away to your heart's content to be first. All right, hopping into the actual patch, item changes, nothing too big here, mostly small nerfs to these items, but Yule Scepter actually got 100 gold off of its recipe, so it's a little cheaper. Wind Waker's going to stay the same, they're adding 100 gold to its recipe. I don't really think any of this is too big of a deal. If you want the item, you'll get it. If you don't want it, you won't get it. Neutral items, Occult Bracelet and Tumbler's Toy, two of the most popular ones, getting another nerf, still going to be, I think, solid items in the right situations when you want them. Tumbler's Toy especially, you pick it because you want the little vault effect, your free blink, right? So the mana, it's sad, but you still get your vault effect, same cooldown, all of that, so I think you'll still take this when you want it. The Ninja Gear is a big change, so cooldown going up, you know, sad, but the big one is here. Losing the Ninja Gear, as in you swap it out, removes the smoke effect, the solitary disguise. And that's how everyone was using Ninja Gear. People were taking it, and then you activate the smoke, and then just swap it with your tier 3 neutral, or later on the tier 5 neutral, or I guess if you wanted like one of the tier 2, tier 1 neutrals. And so it's just like a free personal smoke. But now you have to actually commit to the Ninja Gear. You don't just get to use it for free, because once you swap it out, you're going to lose the smoke effect. I think carries will still take it. It's still got the agility and all that if they want it. You'll probably see a lot less supports grab it, but maybe they still will, because in the end, it is still a smoke. You just have to keep the Ninja Gear in longer until you swap it out at the end. So it could still be good for running around the map, placing wards, things like that, running over to Roche, and then once you're set up, you swap in the neutral you actually want now that you're hiding in trees. It does add in a danger that you might join a fight without the neutral item in that you want, whether that's tier 3, tier 5, or whatever. So it's definitely going to be worse. There might still be cases for it. I don't know. But I'll let you guys know as we play more. Hero changes. I'll try to keep this quick. Abaddon, another small set of buffs. He keeps getting this. I'm going to try him out. Many of you keep asking me if Abaddon's back. I think his issue, even though he keeps getting these buffs, is that I don't know if he works the best with the current meta, which is that there wants to be a lot of early active plays and strong individual heroes. Now, there were strong individual heroes in like PA Sven Gyrocopter, but they wanted people to initiate for them more than they needed saving from a hero like Abaddon. Now, sneak peek, several of those heroes got nerfed, and I actually think that's going to bring a rise to illusion heroes, and illusion heroes like Diffusals. That kind of stuff is not Abaddon's, preference. He likes the individual target single heroes to work with. The enemy has single target stuff to remove with the aphotic shield. When there's a whole bunch of illusions, it's tough to work with them on your team and work against them on the enemy team. So I don't know if the meta fits Abaddon, even though he keeps getting these small buffs, but I will try him out. I will let you know. In terms of save heroes, he and Omni Knight make sense, but they just don't have the crowd control that Dazzle Shard has and Oracle Root has, so I think they've been in a weird spot. Anti-Mage got 1 base armor, which is nice for him. That's his biggest weakness, and with PA, Sven, Gyro, very high tempo, physical damage carries dropping off. Anti-Mage might be doing better for himself. Mana cost also nerfed, or decreased, which is a buff, to his Mana Void. Arc Warden, 40% more damage on Spark Wraith to non-hero units, aka creep securing. So you might see more Arc Warden, except he's not a very popular hero in pubs anyway, so you may not actually see him that much more. But in the pro scene, we might see him more. Beastmaster's been good for quite a while. How many patches have we said that in a row? But he is losing a base armor, and the root on Call of the Wild Hawk is going down a lot at the early levels, and so this will hurt his early game, and he is a tempo hero who wants to get off to a good start, get that Helm of the Overlord, and then just kind of run it down, solidifying his lead, and if he has a worse laning stage, that's going to be harder. Bounty Hunter, 1.5 base attack time. What in the heck? Are we going to see Bounty Hunter carry? I don't know, because he's a little bit hard code limited by the Janata cooldown being 3 seconds. So even if he's attacking faster, he doesn't always get that benefit. But it's still a 1.5 base attack time. So we might see some experimentation with that, but it might just be a better laning stage for Bounty Hunter support, maybe the off lane, which we've seen occasionally. I don't know. I'll be trying it out. I'll be keeping my eye on it. It's very interesting. Base attack times are, those are usually very big changes. Brewmaster was one of the most popular offlaners in the pro scene, but not very popular in your pub, so I don't know how much you'll really see this difference. But Primal Split, I'd say, is the big nerf here. The mana cost going up a lot. This hero liked Refresher, so ult, Refresher, ult, huge mana cost. This guy's not that smart, doesn't have that much mana to work with. And his Aghanim Shard cancel, you used to be able to just like siege buildings for free and then pop back to your whatever other panda, usually the Storm Panda that you ran miles away already. But now it's always going to go back to the original priority, and the original priority is the Earth Panda, and Earth Panda is the one that's good against buildings. So more risk to Brewmaster. He might still be able to siege and then just have to leave a little earlier, but that's still a nerf to him rushing buildings for free, so that's good too. Chaos Knight is going to farm a little faster because he's going to get creep damage on his Chaos Strike, and Sven got nerfed, and Sven's one of the best counter picks versus Chaos Knight, so that might be good for him. Crystal Maiden can now use her Shard ability while channeling, which is mainly her ultimate, but I guess it includes her teleport scroll and when she's like capturing watchers and stuff. I don't know if those are really that useful, but yeah, she can use that now. It seems good for the ability. I'm going to try her out. I didn't really touch her last patch when she got this shard, but I'll give it a go, let you guys know. Dark Willow was rising in popularity a lot in that last patch. 2 seconds longer on Bramble Maze. I don't think it's a huge deal, but part of the reason she was so good in the last patch is because there was a lot of melee type heroes that Bramble Maze was really good against, Terrorize, the Cursed Crown. And now that like Sven and PA and Gyro are dropping off, I kind of think illusion heroes are going to become a little bit more popular. And Dark Willow doesn't really like illusion heroes because illusions just eat up all the brambles, and they have dispels frequently for the Cursed Crown. So that might be more painful for her rather than any of the nerfs here. But again, I don't actually know what heroes are going to truly rise out of the patch yet. Some nerfs to Dawnbreaker, but I think she'll still be a really solid offlaner thanks to her ultimate if you still want to play her. Small death profit buff, same with Drow. Earth Spirit and Earthshaker not really touched all that much. I'm a little surprised. Some talent nerfs, but they're pretty late talents. Level 20 for Earth Spirit, level 25 for Earthshaker, and I think a big part of their strengths is their early game activity, which these nerfs don't really touch at all. So in that sense, I think we'll still see these types of heroes a lot, but sneak peek at some future buffs that we haven't seen yet. There's a couple heroes who are pretty good as the anti-melee heroes, and if those heroes are stronger, maybe you don't want to pick, these Earth Spirit, Earthshaker mids who are just going to get absolutely dumpstered by Huskar. Maybe. I'm going to keep an eye on Enigma as a potential support. Eidolons are now cheaper when you kill them, so not as bad to feed them away. The mana cost is going down quite a lot in the later levels, and then the cooldown is going down a lot, especially at the level 1. So it is now permanent uptime where they last 40 seconds, and it takes 40 seconds before you can summon them again. So, Enigma, always nice to have that big black hole as a, late game insurance, but his laning's been kind of weird since they changed demonic conversion to demonic summoning. I don't know if this is enough, but I'll keep an eye on it because he does kind of bounce between not relevant at all, and then super good, everyone play Enigma. Small nerf to Grimstroke, I think he'll still be fine. Gyrocopter, slight nerf to the Aghanims. I think he was already starting to fall off, so I think this should be okay. Hoodwink, slight, I'd say buff, although technically level 1 was a slower duration. Huskar is getting 1 more second on Burning Spear from 8 to 9, which is maybe how big of a deal is that? But Huskar is, to me, very much a hero where you're absolutely dumpstering mid or you're not relevant. And so every little buff to Huskar could push him towards this lane dominator again, take over the game and win. And, maybe. I don't think he loves illusion heroes if they become more popular, because Gyro, Sven, those guys are dropping off. But again, he can sometimes just win before those illusion heroes pop off. And if heroes like Earth Spirit, Earth Shaker, those melee mids remain popular, Huskars are really good at dumpstering them. So we may see more Huskars in the pro scene especially. Invoker was one of the most banned mids. He's getting nerfed mainly through his regen. So like the healing he gets passively from base regen, the healing he gets from Cold Snap, and the mana he restores from EMP. These three things, amongst other things, helped keep him on the map all the time. So you were ganking everywhere and you were just topped up on health and mana all the time. So by nerfing that, they're trying to add in more downtime where it's like, I don't have enough mana, I have to take it easy for a little bit. I got to go back to base, or I have to, jungle a little bit while getting a clarity, something like that, and you slow down his tempo. Small nerf to Water Park Kunkka, but it's a level 20 talent. I think he's still okay. Same with Legion. Slight nerf here, but again, at level 20, she's kind of doing her job at that point already. Lich is a hero who was already in a decent spot, and now he's getting some buffs to his base intelligence and then his level 15 talent. Lifestealer getting a buff to max health damage at max level, in particular 1.4 up to 1.9, but I actually think this is wrong because I think this was supposed to be 1.7 from a previous patch. So I don't know if this part is wrong or if it never got buffed to 1.7, in which case 1.4 to 1.9 is pretty significant. So I don't know, maybe that's good for him. I mean, it is good, but how good? Luna wasn't terribly popular in the last patch, but getting buffs to her Glaive's Shard, which is 25 damage reduction, right? That seems good. For 7 seconds, I don't know, like, make it make sense. How is she not popular? I think the other heroes were just too good. Sven, PA, Gyro, but maybe as they're all getting nerfed, maybe Luna time's coming up. Because it seems 25% damage reduction. How can that not be good? Small buff to Magnus, slight buff to Marcy. I don't think there's a massive deal to change her state. Some Meepo buffs, which, it is what it is. Meepo spammers will pick Meepo. Everyone else will not. So, yeah, we might see a little bit more of him at the high levels. Nature's Prophet was one of the most broken. He keeps getting these small nerfs. I think he's now in just a solid place for pro play, but I think in pubs there's still so much chaos and there's so much benefit to being able to teleport everywhere that I still highly rate him for pub games. I think he's still worth picking anytime you can if you want to play him, but of course it's getting worse than when he first came out as a support. Some buffs to Ogre Magi. He just has not had a real identity for quite a while, and I'm not exactly sure what buffs he needs to reclaim that identity. I think he does have a positive win rate in pub, so if you like him, I guess it's fine. But the higher up you go, I don't think many people believe in Ogre Magi. But, life getting a little easier. You can cast from further away as a melee hero. You attack a little faster as a support. Maybe you're off laner again. I don't know. I still don't really understand what he's supposed to do with his current setup. Pangolier is considered one of the best mid heroes in the pro scene, but he actually has like a sub 50% win rate in pubs. I think like 45% prior to this patch, and I saw that dropped by like another 5% after this nerf, which is that mana cost is going up on Swashbuckle, same with Shield Crash, and then the damage on Shield Crash is also going down. And some people told me that this means he can no longer one-shot creep waves with Swashbuckle Shield Crash. With the current build, he might have to adjust it to have like wave clear again. And the other thing is like he can't spam these spells as much, but Diffusal, Swashbuckle, Ult is still really good. So maybe he has to get arcanes, or he has to buy a couple more clarities. His neutral items have to help him with the mana. I don't know. But like that core element still seems to be there. So I think you'll still see him in the pro scene. Maybe not first phase all the time. You'll actually wait to see if it's a good Pango game rather than just pick him up right away. Yeah, I mean, the win rate seems to be affected, but do the pros care? The pros don't always, care about what the pub win rate is. So I guess we're just going to have to see in about a week when TI starts. Speaking of seeing things, Phantom Assassin used to be pretty hard to find. Vanish Blur Radius is going to go up from 400 to 500, so that's when it breaks. It used to be 600, and that's when she was in the dumpster and no one was ever playing her, along with other issues. So we're in the middle now. We'll see if that's, enough to be able to find her without it being so annoying. The cooldown is also being changed, so instead of a flat 10 seconds when you pick up Ags, it's 50% of its current cooldown, which at max level puts it at about 22 seconds. And then instead of getting an extra, I think it was 0.25 seconds of Vanish buffer, it's now just going to be a flat 0.5 where it was prior to the Ag, so it just lost that benefit. So nerfs to that, which is how she kind of got out of fights for free. When she didn't want to be there, she would pop blur and you just couldn't see her for, 0.75 seconds. And then she has either jumped away, she's run around trees, stuff like that, and you can't find her. So making it a little easier to deal with that. And then her ultimate, losing a little bit of the crit chance to pick up the deadly focus, which gives you the guaranteed crit. That's going down from 20% to 17%. Small nerf to Primal Beast. I don't think it's a huge deal. I guess Blade Mail and Heart also got nerfed, but in the end, I think he'll still be fine. He still has his BKB piercing ultimate, which I think is a big reason he's popular. Pugna. Interesting changes. You might see some core Pugna. Nether Blast is going to do more damage to buildings, so 15% more than before. And Decrepify went from a 30% slow to a 45% slow at level 1. Now, the issue with support Pugna getting this buff is that when you Decrepify an enemy, sure, they can't run away, but you can't actually do damage to them unless you have spell damage, specifically magic damage or pure damage. So if you had like a right-clicking core, or you yourself wanted to right-click, this slow doesn't do much, but core Pugna can just suck at this time. And so 15% more slow while you suck, that could be a big deal for core Pugna, along with this extra cast range buff on the Decrepify. Slight buff to Ricky and Sand King. I don't think it's too big of a deal. Shadow Demon, 1 second nerf to both his Demonic Cleanse and Demonic Purge, which is sad. He's not terribly popular in pubs, but he does have a really good place in the pro scene, so he's being touched a little bit to be a worse there. Slardar, 1 second less than Slithering Crush. This is interesting to me. I kind of been a while since we've seen a good Slardar in the pro scene, so I'm hoping this starts to bring him back into popularity. Slark, slight nerf to 25 talent. I don't think is a massive deal. Spectre, her ultimate is now 60 seconds at level 1. Down to 40 seconds at max level. This seems really good. I feel like we can see more tempo Spectres instead of this very slow paced, guaranteed late game. I hope we see some much faster paced builds, the Spirit Vessels, Blade Mails, Echo Sabers, Diffusal, stuff like that. I don't want to see this boring ass Radiant Rush. I think this low cooldown Shadow Step is a really, it's a really good tool for an early game Spectre, so I'm hoping to see more of that. Spirit Breaker is a big winner from this patch, in my opinion. This greater bash movement speed as damage is going up by 5%. So essentially a free level, because before it was 20, then 25, now you start at 25. So a free level of greater bash in terms of the damage. And I checked the math a little bit. When Spirit Breaker used to be super, super good, the damage is now higher than it was back then. But the charge speed is still slower than back then, so getting to ganks still takes you more time than it used to. So hopefully this is a good, balance where he's doing a bit more damage, but he's not as fast to arrive to all the ganks and bash people. But after they nerfed him the first time, he really totally dropped off. So I hope this puts him in the middle, and we'll play him again because he's really fun, right? So I'll be trying him out. Sven, nerf this guy. So losing 4 base damage, pretty painful for his laning stage, but he still has like a solid amount. But the God Strength bonus, 20% off at all levels. That's painful for him because he really does like to fight around his ult and just try to delete people, and just losing a good chunk of damage in that is, bit painful. I don't think he's totally dead, although his win rate did drop quite a lot. I think it was also, 4 to 5%. But I think there are still games where Sven is good, conceptually. So I think you might still see him, especially in the pro scene. In pubs, these kind of stuff, the meta matters a lot less in general. But the pro scene, I think there will be games where Sven looks good, and so instead of a first phase, he's one of the best carry picks, it's more, second phase, last pick phase, like this is a really good Sven game, let's grab him. Some techies buffs, I don't know if this is quite enough to make him top of the meta again, but it's nice for him. Timbersaw, same deal, slight buff to him. Treant Protector, some nerfs. I think the base mana regen is the most painful nerf here. A couple talent nerfs as well. But one of the bug fixes to him that I kind of brushed over at the start is that in the last patch, he was able to walk through Nature's Guise as if it were a tree, but if he got damaged in Nature's Guise, it would break his passive. And that was a bug that they said they have fixed now. So that is actually a buff to him to be able to use his Q, especially in the laning stage, I would say, to run in, harass, and then run back to the tree line perfectly safe. So I think it somewhat balances out. I do think this is overall a nerf to him, but I think if you want to play Treant Protector, you'll still be able to. He'll still be in a really good spot. Vengeful Spirit, another one of the best supports. nerfs to her cooldown, especially that level 1 stun, 3 more seconds on it, and then Wave of Terror, total damage being down, even at the max level, it is going to be 5% less. I think this is fair because she just got so many buffs all at once that she became, literally S tier support, one of the best first phase picks. Now worse, and I think that's fine. I think she's still in a solid spot. Slight buff to Visage, some nerfs to Warlock, but to Upheaval, and I feel like why he's good is the Fatal Bonds. Now granted, many pros would take like 2 points in Fatal Bonds and then max Upheaval, and this is where that comes into play. So maybe Valve has it right. Maybe Upheaval is part of the issue, but it didn't. I mean, it is, but I personally feel Fatal Bonds is the big thing that pushed Warlock over the edge, and that didn't get touched. So I think if you want to play Warlock, he'll still be good. Some small buffs to Weaver. I honestly don't play enough Weaver to fully understand how good this is for him. I think his win rate went up 1%, but I don't know if it's quite enough to get into the meta is my first impression, but I could be wrong since I'm not a Weaver player. Small buff to Wind Ranger. Same with the Winter Wyvern. I don't know. Winter Wyvern mains, I'm not sure if this is enough to bring her all the way back in. She still seems relatively weak compared to many other supports, such as Witch Doctor, who got buffed. What the base strength going up by 2, and the cooldown of Death Ward. So this is technically the nerf, bringing it down from, or bringing it up, I guess, from 60 seconds at max level to 80 seconds at max level. But the damage at level 1 actually went up from 60 to 70, and then at max level it's the same. So arguably, I don't know. They're struggling because Witch Doctor's really good in pubs, but not at the pro scene. So they're trying to give him more early damage, which is useful for the pro scene, and they're trying to buff him in other ways, like the base strength. But I can't help but feel this is only going to improve his pub win rate as well. So Witch Doctor, he just keeps winning. And then finally, a small buff to Wraith King stun talent, but the other talent is the skeleton damage, and that talent's way funnier than this talent. So I'm not sure if, this is quite enough to make him relevant. So that's the patch. I will be playing it. If you're watching this video when it comes out, I'm streaming. If you want to drop by, we'll be testing out some of this new stuff. And then as TI starts, I will, of course, be paying attention to that. And I'll release a tier list of which supports look best. So if you guys, you want to try hard, you want to win that MMR, I'll let you guys know which ones are at the top. Thank you for watching. See you in a future video.